This is a review of Survivor Season 28, Episode 8. Here in Cagayan, Richie, we continue to move through one of the greatest seasons of all time. Is it living up to the hype so far?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's starting to get really good right now, and very excited to just keep watching these episodes.
Yeah, it's now we kind of get to that sprint, and even we start to lose
hmm
some really good players here pretty soon. The title of the episode is Bag of Tricks. Great title. We're going to
hmm
rename the title at the end of the episode. We're going to do our stock up, stock down, as well as the Survivor press conference, as always. But we started this episode 8 back at camp with Tony feeling a little insecure about getting his name written
Yeah,
down. It's funny.
he's kind of pissed, bro.
Yeah, and he's like he doesn't mind getting in the fire and stirring stuff up, but it
hmm
is funny how sensitive he is getting it back. I
Yeah,
think a lot of people when they get voted out, they either come back and they're just sad or whatnot. For him to lash out, kind of interesting. And he like,
yeah,
and even it was funny his little rant about being like, dude, I'm just like I'm some old guy, I'm bald, I'm like middle aged, like who would want to vote me out?
yeah.
Which is
But I
funny,
think
but
it's because all the other players are seeing how much he's kind of running things.
yeah.
It seems like he's at the helm of that six, so I mean, it makes sense why you would go after him.
Yeah. And I think he's doing a good job of it, but he wants to be a great player, but he doesn't want to be like he wants to always point to someone else is working hard. That's what all the great
hmm
survivors do is you always want to point and be like, "Well, watch out for them. Well, they're going to be dangerous. They're going to be dangerous." And it's funny cuz even doing the interview with the producer where he's just talking to the camera, he's convincing us that he's like, no, I'm not a threat. I'm not a threat. It's like, dude, you're
Yeah,
not playing the game right now.
you
Um,
can be honest.
yeah, no, Tony he's always on. It's hilarious. We get a lot of fantastic Tony moments. And starting the next day, he gets up and he starts a little lie with LJ.
hmm
Telling him that Wu might have an idol, that Wu might be dangerous. All kind of dirty cop move here. Working a
Oh yeah.
confession out of LJ, being like he because Tony doesn't say it, but he totally leads LJ to eventually go, well, do you think we
Oh
should vote
yeah.
Wu out?
Gets LJ to say exactly what he wants him to say. It was a masterclass. I mean, you just got to think like, don't get me in an interrogation room with that guy where
Yeah.
he doesn't have to worry about all the other stuff that Survivor got to worry
Yeah,
about.
he's got to be a tough police officer. He's no,
Oh yeah.
he's and yeah, it's so funny, and he just gets those gears going. To then we lead to a reward challenge, which we're at 9 in um we're the final 9, so you can do a 4-4 split with one
hmm
person sitting out, or which I don't think they do this very often. They did 3 teams of 3, where only 3 people
I
will
kind
win
of
the
like that.
reward.
Yeah.
Worked
hmm
out pretty awesome. Pretty just solid standard, challenge, throwing the bags down the tube, and then we need that for beer Olympics. That little one where it bounces off the
Hey.
trampoline. That looked fun.
Yeah.
That's a little play on, that's something there.
This
Um,
actually comes and brings up my question for Jeff this week. Goes along with this because during the when they're reading the tree mail, you can see Wu at one point kind of like does like a little underhand toss, and so I wonder if they still like give them because I remember back in a lot of the older seasons they would give them like a prompt, and you would sometimes they would show them practicing and
yeah,
give them a little something like a little thing to try to stack or a little ball to toss around. So I was wondering if
yes.
they still. I'm gonna ask Jeff if they still did that.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. Or if there was a pattern where they must have known, like, man, almost every
Yeah.
every every time we're tossing, like it's always tossing, and it really is. It's a lot of
hmm
tossing, and such an interesting reward too, being the spa. And I was actually thinking about how the reward was such an interesting thing in Survivor, where in the beginning, right, it's always like fire, and then it's fishing gear, then it's comfort, then it's
hmm
then it's a nice meal, then it's an even nicer meal, and then it's a spa day, and slowly the rewards go from Survivor to holy crap, they're doing things that they will never be able to do ever again.
Yeah.
Then they start
hmm
going to villages, then they go on cruise ships, then they take helicopter rides, and they like it is interesting. Like it made me think like that is just another thing that makes this show so amazing. It's just how the rewards would evolve back then, at least, and it would turn into these things that while you're watching on the couch, you're like, when they're eating the pizza, you're like, well, dude, I could eat pizza. But when they're,
Yeah.
hitting golf balls off of a boat, it's like, man, that's awesome. That's probably once in a lifetime.
Hmm.
Pretty sick. But a spa day, do you think a spa day would hit for you different? Or do you think that would be one where you're kind of like, I would rather have a nice
Yeah, I mean, it
meal?
would kind of like suck at the same time. It's like you get on nice and clean, and then within 2 hours, you're just dirty again.
Yeah, true, true. It's very temporary.
Yeah, like I get the massage would probably feel good and everything because they did get some of that, but if
Yeah.
you don't get any of that, like yeah, just a spa and like the shower, that wouldn't be one on high on my list, I would say.
Yeah, because Jeff at one point says like 16 days left in this game, so they're at about 3 weeks without a shower and using just the ocean as a way to
Hmm.
bathe and whatnot. And they kind of like we're again, you don't see them complaining a lot and whatnot, but you have no idea, I guess, how good a shower hits. But it was like it's so funny at this reward with Spencer, Jeremiah, and Tony. There really was no relaxing. It was just it's
Yeah.
gameplay right away, and like like there's something even about this scene with the three of these guys, and like Tony is a little mob boss. He's like, "Hey, we talking strategy here? What are we doing?" And Spencer's like, "Oh yeah, let's do it." Tony's like, "Hey, why
Hmm.
not? You know what I mean? Let me tell you why you're safe. Let me tell you why it's all okay." And like you're just seeing it's Tony working all the magic.
I mean, it works him over so easily too.
Yeah,
Just once again, gets them to say what he wants them to say.
yeah,
It seems to him, it seems like they trust him. But then, of course, we get the confessional from Spencer saying, "I don't trust this guy at all." Which I
yeah,
mean, rightfully so. Why would you
yeah.
trust him just because he told you something on a reward?
And I mean, Tony does realize that those guys are in the bottom position to where, like, if they see a little glimmer of hope, especially as Spencer, like, he sees a little glimmer of hope that I could survive this vote. Like,
Hmm.
that's what they have to do. They don't really
Yeah.
necessarily have a choice. So for them to side with Tony just helps Tony work out, whatever plan he's got cooking, which is funny because again, this is one of several times he already did it with LJ, but people are eating out of his hand in this episode.
Oh yeah.
And even back, we see that Tony might have some adversity when LJ is telling the girls, like, dude, Tony's freaking out. And you
Hmm.
start to think, oh man, this thing all might collapse on Tony. And there are little glimpses here where LJ is thinking, like, oh man, is this the time to make a move? Like, is it sit
Hmm.
back time or is it like get going time? And it is funny they show that on purpose, like
Yeah.
because this one was a little clearer who was going home in this episode,
Hmm. I
because
think so.
it felt like they were spoon feeding it the
Hmm.
whole way. But then we do end up getting back. Tony then tells Woo after the reward challenge, and Woo, dude, believes every word. You're like, it is insane, like
Yeah.
how like Tony just gets them pissed off at LJ, um,
Hmm.
and it's unlike anyone. I mean, we see Boston Rob do it, but like this is again, like you said, masterclass of
And
social
then part
game.
of me wonders too if it was just because like it really doesn't seem like Wu is playing like the actual game. It seems like he's kind of just going with whatever Tony wants to do, and whether that's like part of his strategy, loyalty, whatever. But it just doesn't seem like he wants to make any moves on his own.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, even when Tony goes on the challenge, Wu is like, you know what? I'm glad our guy Tony is going to be out there,
Hmm.
whatever. And it's like, dang. I mean, it is cool that they are a good, strong alliance, but I mean, yeah, I don't know how they just don't see. I don't know, and we're all seeing it on the episode, but no one else is seeing that
Hmm.
Tony is just running things like crazy. Because even
Oh
then,
yeah.
when he goes to Trish, and Trish is kind of one of the last pitches, she's like, "Dude, I heard you were going crazy. Like LJ was saying this and that." And it's like Tony's like boss battle, like the last person he has to
Hmm.
convince, and he's able to flip it on LJ so quickly. And it's like,
That didn't surprise me as much either because I feel like Trish feels loyal to him just from their first tribe.
yeah,
And I think at the end of the day, you can always think that those Bronze are going to want to stay together too,
yeah,
regardless of who the other three in the alliance are.
yeah. It's quite interesting. The yeah, just kind of what it all how it all unfolds, and Tony ultimately saying like it is time to make a move on LJ. And
Hmm.
I don't know if I mean we'll get there, but we get to the immunity challenge. We'll jump right to that memory immunity challenge. I was doing this
Yeah.
stone cold sober, and I was having a hard time with it. How do you feel you would
Really?
do in them straight in these memory ones? Because sometimes they do the images right. I think that's probably
Yeah.
the evolution of this challenge is
For sure.
run
Yeah.
out to sea, look at those photos, come back in.
Hmm.
This one
That's
is
way harder for sure. Colors, I think. I mean, I was playing along too, and like got every single one. But then
oh,
again, too, like I'm not dehydrated and depleted,
three
and
weeks in.
my mind isn't, yeah, worried about who's trying to get me out, who's with me, who's not with me. So
Yeah.
there's so many other things going on in their mind that it's just probably so much harder.
Yeah, no, it's insane little challenge, but I mean, it definitely evens the playing field. And honestly, a big win that I don't know. Do you think if, let's say, Spencer won this challenge, do you think LJ still
Hmm.
goes home? Or do you think Tosh saved herself a little bit here and kind of delayed the inevitable? And it paved the way for,
Yeah,
like,
I thought
okay,
about
now's the
that,
time.
but I feel like no matter what, LJ was going to go.
Yeah.
I think that Tony knows that it's a good time because they can get rid of him and they still have numbers 5 to 3 if they are going to stay together. So,
Yeah, no, it was pretty wild. And then came down to the final three there: LJ, Tony, and Tosh. Which, yeah,
mhm.
just very funny. And Tony always in the mix here. All these challenges too. Not to just keep hyping him up, but I mean, he's had a hell of an episode.
Yeah.
Um, hell of an episode. Yeah, he gets back to camp. This is where he talks to Trish and yeah, Spencer ends up getting the line too. Realizes it's going their way and it's all
Mhm.
kind of chaotic. We get to tribal, and yeah, Tony says he's got a bag of tricks. Ultimately, doesn't really lead anywhere, but the bag
Yeah.
of tricks might have just been the blind side
Mhm.
that ends up coming. And it is interesting, and like this will go with my question is because they go around like the room talking to everyone, and like Jeff stops at LJ and is like, LJ, how do you feel you are with like loyalty and like being able to read people or trust people? And LJ's like, dude,
Mhm.
I know, I'm good. And I always wonder if Jeff like has a sense. This is my question for Jeff to jump ahead.
Mhm.
Is that like, dude, if you know Blindside's coming, are you obviously as a producer you're hyped that he said that because that's gonna make the payoff better.
Yeah.
But are you searching for it? Are you like, man,
Mhm.
we got it. It's
Yeah.
almost like you're a lawyer and you're presenting the case and you're like, I got to make them say everything they can. Because I was just hearing that. And like you hear it happens in countless tribal councils across all seasons where someone's going, look, me and my crew, we're tight. Like, we're not going anywhere tonight. And then boom.
And they're gone.
I think
Yeah.
LJ even said the word like, this is the first time I felt safe. Like at some point in
Mhm.
this episode. And I'm like, dude, that's like talking about a no hitter when there's a no hitter going on. Like that is automatic death. Um, but yeah, LJ goes home. How did you feel about it all playing out? Was
The main thing I kept thinking the entire time was if Spencer was going to play his idol. I feel like that was like a crazy good move by him to just trust Tony and not play it. And
Yeah,
my thoughts, I guess, are just he's probably thinking numbers wise. If he goes home today with the idol, without the idol, whatever, he still has zero shot. If he has the idol the next episode, he's got some sort of shot. So maybe keep it and maybe try to flip the numbers the next episode. So good move by him.
yeah, yeah, and he that was like his move to play. It wasn't just a blind trust. It was like, yeah, man,
Hmm.
I gotta hold on to an idol, a thing that could keep him safe. Yeah, LJ goes home. He had said too in his, I don't know if you watch him. I actually had a funny, like, do you watch now that like with streaming, that might be a thing that kills that segment in streaming is you now don't watch that extra 30 seconds unless you really are like, wait, who voted?
Sometimes I do. Yeah, it just depends.
Yeah. This one, and now like towards the end, I feel well. One, it was always an excuse as a kid to stay up a little bit later because Jeff would be like, "The tribe has spoken," and it's like 7:56, and you're like, "No, wait, I got to see what LJ said."
Yeah.
And LJ was like, "Dude, he said one thing I was worried about during the game was figuring out when to be patient and when to be aggressive." He's like, and I was being
Hmm.
patient right there. And I was
Yeah.
feeling, and as he said that, I was reminded while I was watching. There were moments where he's like, "Oh, do I make a move now? Like, should
Hmm.
we blindside Woo? Like, maybe Tony's right." And even like that mentality, like Tony's on that, and Tony, at least from what we're seeing, is the only one really playing out there
Yeah.
um, to that level. Which we can go to stock up, stock down. With
Before we
that,
go there, I just wanted to
oh
go to the. I had one part where Jeff asks Tony what he does, and he says construction, and immediately the camera pans to Sarah, and her face just goes, "What?" She's
yes,
wishing so bad that she could say something right there, but Can't
Yeah,
talk now.
a key moment there too. Yeah, because I thought Tony had told them all that it wasn't just Sarah thing, but
He did tell them, and then he came back like the next night and was like, "I'm just kidding, guys. I'm not a cop."
he's so wild. And dude, and no one's
Yeah.
questioning it. Everyone's just like, "Oh, Tony."
Hmm.
Maybe he just seems like such a wild card that no one realizes. Yeah, that
Yeah.
especially, I mean, after this episode. And what's so funny too is by LJ going home, like it's something brilliant where like no one's ever going to know if Tony was or if LJ was going to blindside Wu because now forever people are just
Hmm.
like, oh, Tony's like so protective of Wu
Yeah.
that like, wow, he's so loyal and like whatever. But it's like it's a lie that LJ goes home with, and that is like so
Hmm.
powerful,
Oh
because it's
yeah.
just a seed planted, to go further and further. So with that, we can move into stock up, stock down,
Yeah.
which stock up's got to be Tony after this episode.
Yeah. There's really no other person. Kind of like some
Um,
of those ones where one person just ran the whole episode. He kind of
yeah,
ran this whole episode. So.
he did, and yeah, winning the reward challenge was big, and then yeah, just so many people eating out of his hand,
Hmm.
and including us at home. So Tony, Tony,
Yeah.
Tony. Then for stock down, I mean, I really went with something that's kind of crazy. With 8 people left, there's only one beauty remaining. So my stock
There's two.
down. There's two. Oh,
Yeah.
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah and Jeffra. Yeah.
So of the 8 people left, there are 2 beauty remaining,
Hmm.
and I think it's Jeffra who's probably stock down at this point too,
Yeah.
because Jeffra was more aligned with LJ than maybe she was
Hmm.
Jeremiah. Jeremiah seemingly was a free agent and is in a better place now. But I do see Jeffra as kind of now on, and I know Tosh won't have the immunity idol next time, but suddenly I feel like the brains have some life, and they have like,
Hmm.
oh, Tony, we don't know which way Tony's going to flip or flop. And yeah, I don't know. I got Jeffra.
I went stock down with Jeffra as well, mostly just because how shocked she was and
True.
blindsided by the vote. She
Yeah.
had no idea that was coming, so I think that was the biggest reason that she got the stock down.
Yeah, totally. And we haven't seen too much gameplay from Jeffra that would
Hmm.
let us
Yeah.
know that, yeah, she's going to be good to go. Did you have your Survivor press conference? Who did you have?
Yeah, mine was asking Jeff about if they still give them like a preview of the challenge.
Preview the challenge. I
Hmm.
want to know, man, how hard is he fishing for those
Yeah.
lines? How hard is he fishing for those lines? Well, there's a lot of good lines also in this episode that we're going to
Hmm.
rename. It was Tony's bag of tricks, which was a funny line. Ultimately, there was really no payoff other than, like, of course, the blind
Yeah.
side. Anything else that stood out to you that you think
I thought like
this
one of the
episode should be?
funniest parts, and I kind of wanted to wait to talk about it until right now, was when I think it was right before they were going to tribal, and Tosh wanted to talk to LJ, and so she's like, "LJ, meet me like over here in like a minute or two." And so she's over there waiting, and he just never comes,
Yeah.
just leaves her alone. And this is, I feel like she's kind of the first person. That's like, Tony's got these people wrapped so tight around his finger that they can't even come talk to me. So I titled the episode "Stood Up" because
Stood
LJ
up.
stood up Tosh.
And honestly, a key moment, like I was saying, there were flashes there.
Yeah.
Dude, if LJ gets up and goes over there, one, I mean, that actually could have gotten Tony more fired up to be like, dude, LJ's totally playing all of
Hmm.
us. Um,
But maybe LJ could have went with them,
yeah.
and they could have had numbers to flip it onto Tony.
Yeah, no, it's so fascinating. But he was deciding to
Hmm.
stay patient because yeah, he probably could have went to Tasha and been like, hey, look, let's go Woo, throw some votes at Woo and let's mix
Hmm.
things up. But he also was funny about LJ is like Tony had leaned on him so much that LJ was nervous about making Tony too
Hmm.
paranoid, and so
Yeah.
so he was like, I'm not going to get up and make any moves because it will freak Tony out. So Tony has everyone right where he wants them.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and my title, it kind of went with that idea that the spa day just was not really relaxing, and it's Bill Belichick, no days off, no days off, even like on the
Okay.
spa day, like. This is a game that's like things are still cooking, and that's what like all the
Hmm.
best Survivor episodes do is that your reward is like heavily played in the gameplay, and
Oh yeah,
you know
for sure.
Tony ended up getting Jeremiah and Spencer over to him, and that will be something that we continue to see develop as all these people. There's a lot. I still don't quite know how it's playing out, But I'm also slowly remembering too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet, dude. Anything else about episode 8?
No, I think I got everything in there.
Dang. Final 8. Yeah, they're down to
Yeah.
probably about 12 days left. Pretty wild. We probably got about a couple episodes left as well. So pretty
Probably
good.
4, maybe 5.
Stay with us. Thanks so
Mhm.
much for watching. We'll see you next time.